All right, ladies, gentlemen, gamers, everyone else, welcome back to another Chris Allen recap. I believe this one is number 38. It's been quite a while since we last did one of these. It's been about, let's count. June, July, August, September. It's been about 3 months since I've done this. And the last time I did this, I think, was before I got employed in my current job, which, update on that. It's as good as you expect it is. I love it. It's amazing. That was a joke. It's a lie. What's the purpose of this Chris Allen recap? Pretty much the same as the other ones. To vent. To maybe have some advice for other people. Maybe they could garner something from this. Maybe they can get companionship in the fact that we're not alone in our suffering. It's also for me to kind of put it out there, because I do want it out there. I do like keeping a log of things. So the general same reasons. But it's mostly to give an update on how things are. I have 20 minutes to burn anyway, and I was like, I can't really play anything that's going to take 20 minutes. I can try and keep this within 20 minutes and give everyone an update on how things are going. So I decided to do that. As you can see on screen, we have a nice picture of the Capybopus, and the Capybopus here are not really indicative of anything we're going to be talking about. They're kind of just here to give us a good time. And as you can see, I have my little Capibopu VTuber, PNG tuber thing in the corner here. That's there. I've been enjoying that. Thank you, Makeda, from the Twitch, for gracing me with this. Regardless, let's get into the topic of what's been going on in the life of Chris Allen. As things have been going on, I would say things are at probably an all-time low. I know I kind of say that probably every time we do one of these, but, that's what happens when you get into the slow descent of madness. At this point in time, I definitely think I have issues. I definitely think that 110%. The problem is, knowing is half the battle, but knowing is the easy part in my eyes. It's doing that's the hard part. I was going to make a script for this, but I was really short on time. Something came up that I'm going to do in 20 minutes. So this might, as always, be a little disarrayed. It really sucks, too, because when I was running before this, I had a really good list of ideas in my head that I wanted to talk about. But what always ends up happening is I lost the ideas. And it really, really sucks because I thought there were great ideas we could talk about. But as I go through and try to remember them, let's just talk about how things have been. The job that I've had has been terrible. Now, jobs suck and stuff, but it goes into the question of, just what people like. It goes into the big question of what is life for, right? What is the purpose and meaning of life? Obviously, there's different lenses and views you can think of this as, right? On a societal standpoint, a lot of people, and even then there's no hard set one, on a societal standpoint, they might be like the goal of life is to try and live and make things better for the next generation, whether that be the people around you or your own family. Pretty much at first it's your own family, but if you don't have a family or can't make one, it's to try and benefit society, which then will hopefully use that through taxes, or whatever else you can contribute or they take from you, to benefit, the rest for the current time and the time to come. That's from a societal point of view. From a personal point of view, it's, I would believe or I would think, doing what you want. Doing what you want can end up aligning with society's view of, okay, what I want to do, similar to society's view, is make things good for my family, and then make things good for everyone else in the human race, and just do that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I would say you can boil it down further, because that's not everyone's view. Some people don't want to make things better for other people. I would say those people are a little selfish, but that's also not good and bad. I'm taking away morals from a lot of this conversation here. So at that point, it really boils down to, what do you want to do? The purpose of life is doing what you want to do. Now, the problem with that is what you want to do changes. It gets muddied. and sometimes you don't know what you want to do. I'm kind of in that boat now. So there's things I think people think they want to do, and let's just take also that out of it. We already took morality out, whether this is right and wrong, because then that would make this go well over 20 minutes. Let's just think about, you know, what do people want to do? Because let's just go along with that's the point of life. That's the meaning of life on an individual basis, right? We're not talking about society basis. We're not talking about a speciesist basis, because at that point it's to procreate, right? Continue the species, which morally, has its own things. But we're taking morality out, as I've said 3 times already, or more. So on an individual level, it's doing what you want. Now the problem arises that in today's society, and I can only view it from mostly my lens that I see, from the society of New York, where doing what you want is extremely difficult, or exceedingly difficult nowadays with the state of the world. What you want can't always be done. And it's not just because I'm in New York, it's also just in general. Let's just say I wanted to be an astronaut, but I wear glasses. At that point, at least if I'm going off of what I heard back in the day, now I can't be an astronaut. If you have certain things with you, or you do certain things, or you are a certain way, sometimes certain doors are closed off to you that you wanted. And again, we're also taking away the idea of you think you want things, because a lot of the times people think they want things and they either don't know how it actually is, they have this fake idea of how it is, and then in reality it's different and they kind of don't want it anymore. Or I think that's it for the most part, or they just think it's some way that it's not, which I already went over. Basically they don't really know. I'm getting muddied now. They don't really know what they want, right? We're taking that away. We're assuming this is actually what they want and they know what it is and they want to get it. They either can't get it, or because of society's constraints, either how they are or just how society is, they end up not getting it. So they need to change what they want at that point. If you want to be an astronaut and you wear glasses, you don't have 20/20 eyesight, you can't be an astronaut. At that point, even though that's what you wanted, society will tell you, no, you can't do it. You got to find something else. At that point, what do you find? I'm sort of in that space now, although what I want is obviously a little weird. I don't really know what I want anymore. I'm kind of at a standstill with a lot of things. To put it bluntly, like I said, and as I've assumed, I hope it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy, but as time goes on, it's leading worse and worse and worse. So I've noticed that if there's a set path for things, at least for me, I follow it. I've basically put myself in the rut, essentially. Or in a routine. Let's call it a routine. And in this routine, I'm unhappy. But I can't see a way, because of my mental issues, I would say at this point. And I'm even scared to say mental issues because I'm no professional. I'm not trying to basically say I'm this way because I don't know. But this is my best, my best judgment, my best assumption. Because I really do think at this point I'm not normal. Be that for better or for worse. I think it's for worse for the most part. But because of the way I am, I end up not knowing what to do. I'm basically in a routine I feel like is a prison, but I'm so scared of breaking the prison that I don't want to get out of it. But I don't want to stay in it. So I'm in a constant state which has become my favorite new word recently, ambivalence. Ambivalence, for those of you who don't know what it is the state of there's 2 options, or there's 2 things, and there's good and bad to both, so you end up not knowing what to choose. I've basically felt that to heart recently. I don't want to stay in this routine, because it's obviously not good for me, it's depressing me, but I don't want to leave the routine, even though there's good reasons to, there's good reasons not to, but at that point, it's up to basically chance or luck, or there's a thing of the unknown. I know in this routine, as bad as it is, I know what it is. There's a reality of there's no real guessing game. It is what it is, which is bad. But I'm more fearful of the unknown than I am of the known. And I just automatically think with my sick mind that the unknown is going to be worse than the known. So I'm basically stuck in a rut. Now, it's a big part of fear, I guess, where I'm at. I honestly question a lot what's the difference between fear and laziness. I don't know. I've been debating this constantly for these past couple months while I've been in this job. Let me describe the job too. The job is basically ass. I've been duped, I've been bamboozled, and I've been smeckledorfed. We'll put it that way. And I hate this job, but I don't want to leave it because, like I said before, I'm more scared of the unknown, and I don't want to work. But basically, to sum it up without providing details, I really, really, really dislike this job. I always thought I would never end up in a job like this, and I will provide some detail. I was supposed to be a mailroom person, like what I used to be kind of at Rockefeller in my previous job. And now, essentially, I've become a legal assistant who isn't paid the payment of a legal assistant, didn't ask to be one, and doesn't want to be one, but again, I'm too scared to change anything, even in my own current situation. And it depresses me. So let's go back into the topic of fear versus laziness, right? I don't know what I have. I have both. I know I have both, right? I know I'm a lazy sack, and I know I'm very fearful, but I don't know which combination is bigger and what the difference is, and I can't identify when one is happening over the other or when they're happening at all, but I know they're both there. What do I mean by this? Obviously, I know I'm lazy because I don't want to do certain things. Now, this even comes into question. I believe it's called a lot of epistemological questions. I'm probably butchering that, and I do apologize, but I ask a lot of epistemology is the real, is the overarching one. Epistemological questions where I believe that means, if I remember my college philosophy correctly, like the higher level questions of how things are defined, right? So at this point, I question what is laziness. Is what I have laziness? And I do this with almost everything, which, if you didn't notice, my mind just overthinks. But I can't really stop it. The demons in my head, they won't stop talking. But the demon is me. The demons are me. And my sick mind. But, what is laziness? Is laziness just not doing what you have to do? Then the question becomes, what do you have to do? And then it goes down into the rabbit hole of questioning everything and what's the meaning of this and that. But again, we're going to take a lot of things out of here, just like we took out the morality and the other stuff. Laziness is not wanting to do something that you probably should do. Again, because the only thing you have to do in life, by pure definition, because I work in extremes, unfortunately enough, is you have to live until you die. If you are born, you must live until you die. Everything else you do, it's not an issue. You don't have to do it. You can choose to. Everything is a choice, right? But the only choice you do not have, unless we get Jeff Bezos's fucking immortality syringe that he's trying to make, you have to live until you die. It's the only thing you have to do. So, again, taking that out of the argument here, or the conversation, what is laziness? Laziness is not doing things you probably should do that will help you, right? But at that point, a lot of things will help you. So it goes back down to what I said, what's the meaning of life? The meaning of life is doing what you want. But then the problem comes in, again, like I said before, do you know what you want? We took that out. Okay, you know what you want, assuming you're not wrong with this. At that point, is what you want beneficial to you? What if I want to go around chopping people's heads off like an axe-swinging murderer? Obviously, that's not very beneficial to me in terms of society's laws, and just morally speaking, it's wrong, right? It's not good to do. It's not good to want that. But it's what I want. So am I lazy if I'm not doing what I want? So then you have to kind of go by the societal standard, or at least just logical standards of, okay, what can you do, or what should you want that will improve your situation just factually, right? Obviously getting a better job, getting money. But then it gets muddied again by what is the cost of those things. For some people, there's no cost. They can get a job, they like the job. It's a benefit. For people like me that hate working, at least the shitty jobs I've had so far that I've stuck myself and locked myself into, foolishly enough, it's a detriment. It's a cost. It's the cost of my sanity, right? So, I'm kind of getting lost with where I'm going. Let's go back to laziness. So, in general, laziness, I defined it as not wanting to do something that you probably should that will benefit you on a baseline that almost everyone can agree on and is just factually correct, right? And it outweighs the cost, if there is any, of you doing it. Now the question is, how do you evaluate the cost? It's subjective. We go into subjectivism. It's going to get muddied, and we don't have too much time for that. But hopefully, generally, that provides a definition for laziness that we can work with, that people will understand. Then we go into fear. What is fear? Fear is complicated. I think laziness and fear lead to the same thing. It leads to avoidance of an issue. The problem is why. With laziness, you just don't want to do it. And laziness to me is something that confuses me a lot because it doesn't make logical sense. Fear is something, again, very similar. Because there's fear that's based in logic, and then there's fear that's based in illogical assumptions or illogical things, right? There's fears that people would say, and again, this goes into, is what people say correct? But again, I'm asking, I believe, a lot of epistemological questions here, which we're not going to try and ask. So, fear, right? At least in my case, it has a lot to do with illogical fears. A lot of my fears are illogical, but fear has to do with avoidance, same as laziness. Laziness, I don't want to do this thing because I'm lazy, because I just don't want to. There's no real negative association with it. Now, I do believe sometimes laziness can be masked as something else. Maybe laziness is masking itself as fear, and you're just not admitting it or not conscious of it, right? Like, oh, you're going to say, oh, I just don't want to do it because I don't want to do it. I don't feel like it. I'm lazy to do, like, X thing, like, I don't know, go running at the park. But let's just say you had a traumatic event at the park. At that point, it could be because of fear. You just don't realize it. It could be, like, subconscious avoidance. I'm not saying that's what it is for my case, but I'm just putting out there that sometimes fear, or sometimes laziness can be masked, or it cannot, it actually won't be laziness. It could be something else. So what is fear, though? Because I'm kind of skirting around the definition of it. Fear is avoidance of something out of a negative emotion. You can't really define something, I think, past a certain point, past its own point. It has to be at a certain definition. It can define itself. So fear, I think everyone knows what fear is, right? And I think everyone understands that there's logical fears, like, oh, I'm scared of heights. Oh, I'm scared of the dark. Okay. And then there's illogical fears. Oh, I'm scared of talking to people, which, as society goes on and changes, those illogical fears somewhat become logical to people. Maybe it's more learned, maybe it's more socially accepted, who knows. However, I'm having trouble figuring out, in my case, because I do a lot of things that don't make sense. And the worst part is, in my position, I know what I'm doing is wrong, and this is one of the biggest things that eats me alive constantly over the past, however long it's been, 3-ish months since I've done the last Chris Allen recap. This thing that eats me alive is I know I'm doing wrong. Like, it goes into the same thing I said with laziness. I know laziness is the avoidance of something you probably should do. So the fact that you know you should do it, why don't you do it? At that point, I think it's because emotion, for humans, a lot of the time, trumps logic. And for a long time, it was not like that for me. For a long time, I could logically do things and disregard my emotions. I don't know if I've become just so mentally fucked in the head where I can't do it anymore. Or, who knows how it ended up like this, but I feel for a big part, my emotional side has not only come back in full force when it wasn't really there to begin with, but it's now taken control. And I basically feel like I'm in a fucking Tsukiyomi time loop where I can't break out of the thing I'm doing. And it's almost as if, again, going back to routines, it's almost as if I can't even imagine. Like, it's not even, in my mind, it's not even possible for me to do something out of my routine. It's not, and it's scary. And the feelings I get when I do something out of the routine are insane. Now, we're already going off, like, a little too long, and, we're going to have to start wrapping up here, so I'll try and wrap it up, as much as a mess as this was. Essentially, yeah, things are not going too good, as I assumed, unfortunately. Things are getting worse, and I don't see them getting any better, because I see just myself not being able to work through things. However, I am trying now to see assistance, which I have my own opinions about. I don't think it's really going to lead anywhere, but I am doing it because I have nothing else to lose, right? But, yeah, I just honestly think I'm sick in the head. I have a lot of ideas I know don't make sense, but I still feel them. It feels like there's multiple people that or multiple ideas that I know I shouldn't have, but I do. It's a very weird state I'm in. I'm in a very weird state, and it eats me alive. I basically think I'm evil, nothing I do is good, and even the way I am, right? Because obviously at this point, I think with great certainty that something is wrong with me, and I'm acknowledging it at this point. But I think even with the acknowledgement, just the pure fact that I'm like this, it's kind of like a survival of the fittest sort of thing, right? Where because I'm like this, I shouldn't even have or be able to experience certain things. It's a very weird thought process. It's a very vicious mentality I have, and I know it. And again, that depresses me, but I don't know. I just have a lot of negative ideas, negative thoughts. My situation isn't getting better. It's up to me to try and make it better, and for all the reasons that I know are wrong, I should make it better, and for all the ways I do know how to make it better, I'm not, and I don't understand why, and a part of it is because of my routine. But anyway, things are getting worse, but I'm still holding out hope, as a pair once said, just hold on, bro. And that is my golden rule I will share with everyone. As bad as it gets, there has to be some sort of hope. There just has to. Like, I'm attributing a lot of problems right now to a lot of unlucky things. Again, mostly with myself. I blame myself for a lot of these things, which makes me upset, but it is what it is. But there's also outside influences like the environment and where I'm at. Again, New York is not the best place for poor people. Really, really, it's not. But I'm just assuming, hopefully, that as time goes on, we're just in a dark age. I think, I believe overall we're in a dark dimension. But my main mentality is not to have a fun but short time here. It's to try and hold out, hopefully, as long as possible. Hopefully. So we can see good times come. Because everything I say, like, I've said this in the past in the other Kursan recaps, everything is a wave, right? There's good and there's bad. I think overall, the average of the wave and the tides have gone down. I think things have gotten worse, and it's going to be like that for a long time. And it's going to get worse before it ever gets better. And, my negative ass is thinking it might not ever get better. But I can't say for certain it will, because according to probability, it's impossible. It's not 100%. So, yeah, that's basically the update. I'm not doing too good. I'm struggling with these ideas and many, many more I couldn't get to within this time period, but I just use this to burn some time, hopefully vent a little bit. Hopefully someone else can garner something useful from this. At least people can know maybe they're not alone if they're going through stuff. And yeah, that's basically it. Let's just hope things get better. We have the Cappy Bappies here to try and help us through it. Let's pray to them. Let us pray to the Cappy Bappies. Anyway, I hope everyone has a good one. I'll see you next time, whenever that may be.